one heck of a day. We baptized 13 children in Corpus Christi today. And so it is happening, right? We prayed the rosary with a family that through the COVID lost mom and dad. So the whole family got together. We got to pray the rosary with them at their home. And now I'm here. All right, so I thank you for waiting, but I haven't been playing around. We're all work today. It's all work today. So I get a call from Ricardo the other day, and he says, "Can you give us a talk?" And I said, I have this prayer that I prayed every morning, right? And I asked the Lord to lead me to where He needs me, and don't let me take the place of what someone else should do or could do, but don't let it go undone because no one's made himself available to do it. So I know that whenever it does filter through and it actually comes into my phone, it's not the person who's calling, or it's not the person who's asking, it's the Lord wanting me to put out a fire. So here I am today, not only to put out a fire. I was told by Ricardo, "Tony, we're going to have wine. Take your time. There's dinner." And I walk in here and I see no wine, and I'm wondering whether or not it's in the kitchen. Okay, so I was wondering whether or not they had set me up, right? But the important thing and it intrigued me, the subject that he wanted us to discuss today. And when I say discussion, that's exactly what I hope that my talk is. I don't have letters after my last name. I am by trade. I run an air conditioning company, but I have had the incredible gift that the Lord has given me to be able to be approachable. And because I've made myself approachable, I've been able to learn so much from others that I often go out and share. And one of the greatest gifts that I can honestly tell you that the Lord has given me is to be able to work with Camino and to realize the importance of that ministry. And so when he says, well, now everybody here, it's going to be 20-something years old, married or more. So I says, well, great. Now I'm talking to a different crowd, right? But the message is still the same. You got to fall in love every day. And no matter how old you are, no matter how long you've been married, we have to work at falling in love every day. A couple of years ago, I was asked by a group at St. Hugh to come and give a talk. And I get this call, and this is the way it's presented to me. He said, "Deacon Tony, Father Federico says you're a great speaker. I'm going to need you to come and do a talk for us. We're having this ministry of bringing people who've been married for 5 years to bring them back together to the parish and have a little retreat with them." I said, that's a great idea. Follow up, stay connected. Don't let them run away. Don't let them think they can make it on their own. That's a great idea. I want to be a part of that. He says, well, we have 3 talks, and you can pick whatever you want, Deacon, whatever you want. But I'm going to give you the 3 topics. We have one talk on finance. We have one talk on communication, and one talk on sexuality. Deacon, you pick whichever one you want. I already have one person for the finances, and I have another one for the communication. So, but I'm not putting you on the spot. You pick. You tell me. And I says, sucker, right? I says, what can I possibly pick now, right? So I says, I'm being set up, but it's a good setup. When I hung up the phone, I says, no, boy, count on me, I'll do the talk. But when I hung up the phone, it occurred to me that the main problem with the talk about sexuality was that we were calling it sexuality. The talk should be intimacy. Because at the end of the day, if we're getting married, and listen, I often tell the people who are getting prepared to go into this marriage commitment, I tell them, right now you think it's about the intimacy. The intimacy of that desire for the other person one day will be no more than holding hands. And I know that I can see from here that I see a lot of people holding hands. And I think that's an important part of every marriage that we need to witness to the world. You know, I told you today, we baptized 13. Last month, we baptized 23, right? So the church is growing. The sad part is that out of those that we have baptized, I would say probably only 60% have a mother and a father present. Now, we realize that we come from a generation where we've seen mom and dad be faithful in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, when they were rich and when they were poor, and they were poorer, but they didn't turn their back on each other. And so we now have a new generation that if it doesn't feel good, turn it in, get another car. If it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, throw it away, go get yourself another. What has happened? The younger generation doesn't believe in love anymore. So the old song says, whatever happened to old-fashioned love, the one that my mom and dad once knew? Our children are not seeing that. You know, I was reading this past week, and Ricardo sent me an article, but you can't help but see it when you go to Publix now and you're paying and you see it there. It's in all these tabloid magazines. You see it. People can't believe that Bill Gates and his wife are getting separated. I says, how can this possibly happen? And you read, and that's what you're reading. They cannot believe that people who have money could actually fall out of love. And it's real. Because you see, the world believes that if you have money, you have everything, and obviously you can buy anything, so that marriage should work. And man, if there's one thing, and I know that Ricardo will remember, and those of you who have been when I've given the talks at Camino, the one thing I make it a point to repeat over and over again. Remember that 2 of you will walk up to the sanctuary, 3 of you have to walk down from the altar. And that third person is God, who's got to be in your marriage throughout your marriage every day. If you leave God at the altar, good luck with that. Good luck with that, because God knows that even when you bring him into the house, those days become difficult at times, right? Because the reality is that we marry somebody that we're attracted to, that we hope that we can fight, that we hope that we can finish the race with, but we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the challenges that we're going to fight, that we're going to find in this journey. I look back 34 years, right, babe? 34 years, all right? And that's St. Myra. Hey. She hasn't been canonized yet by the Catholic Church, but one day she will, all right? Because I'm helping her get there. God knows I'm helping her get there. All right? But here's the reality. The day that I promised at the altar at St. John's the Apostle Church that I would be faithful to her in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, till death do us part, I said I do. I didn't know any better. I should have said, I do with God's help. I do. I didn't know. And so today, whenever I ask someone to make a commitment in any sacrament that I am witnessing, I always tell them, don't you just say I do. You say, I do with God's help. Because alone we can't do it. And I want to send them into this journey, not by themselves, but with He who can make things happen. You know, when we look back at Scripture, we know that David went out to fight Goliath. And David told King Saul, my Lord and I will go out to the battlefield. And then when he got in front of Goliath, and Goliath said, "You sent me a dog," David says, "My Lord and I will destroy you today." And they did. And they did. And that is what we need to bring into every challenge, in every battle that we have to face in our marriage. You know, one of the greatest gifts that I know I've had, and many of us here can attest to, is that we came from a country as refugees. I arrived, and I often tell my children, I don't call them children, because the other day they got offended when I called them children. They're 30-something years old. I said, "You still my children." It doesn't change. Your age doesn't change it, right? But they push back right away. "Don't call us children." I said, "I'm sorry. The adults that the Lord has given me." So, yeah, I am so gifted. Thanks. But I often tell them, because I want them to know where we have been. All life long, I've always told them, I am who I am, not because of what I have today. Today, I have more than I need, more than I deserve. And God's been good to me, better than I deserve. But at the end of the day, what's made me who I am is what I didn't have. What I didn't have. And I often tell the children, my adults, that one day they'll understand what I'm trying to tell them. Because we have now come into a second generation that had the mindset, "I will give my children everything I didn't have." Oh, you know what? Your children don't have the capacity to understand your generosity and your giving. And so they think, and they've grown up to be in a world where there's a sense of entitlement that it maybe shouldn't be there. And so they forget to give thanks. You know, I was telling the parents at the baptism today, I says, "When was the last time you prayed with your children?" Because they're going to believe and grow in the faith by what they see, not what they hear. If they see you praying in those difficult moments, when the difficult moments come in their lives, guess where they're going? I had one of my daughters was going through some tough time with boyfriend things, and she comes home as I am arriving late at night from Corpus, and I said, where you been? He says, "I went to adoration." And I said, "Whoa." Yes. I says, how powerful that they know where to go to gain the strength, to put things back in order. Because one day, I won't be here to tell them where to find the answers. Neither will you. And so what we need to do is be able to entrust in them. And see, sometimes we feel that if we show that we're struggling, that if we're fearful, if we're having a hard time making a decision or going through a difficult time in the marriage, that we should keep from our children. And I think that's a mistake. Let them see you pray. Let them hear you say, "Lord, give me the strength and the wisdom to be able to lead my family. Lord, bless my family. Help and bless the love that my wife and I feel for each other. Help us with the rent." They will hear and they will learn. And when those difficult times come in their lives, they will repeat what they saw. Pope John Paul II says the most powerful testimonial that he ever witnessed was when he came home and saw the military father that he had on his knees crying and praying for his mother and his wife who had just died. He says, "Nothing taught me more about the faith than seeing my dad pray over my mother who had just passed." He was just 8 years old. Powerful. And so we realize that we as parents, a lot of times we shelter them and let them think that everything is kumbaya, everything is good. You know, no more than one of my daughters one time. We were driving somewhere and she wanted something and I said, I don't have any money. And she says, Papi, there's a Publix there. Get money there. Because we always used to go to Publix to the ATM and I put my card in and here comes the money. That's all she saw. And so she thought that if you need money, go to Publix. Stick the card in there. They'll give you money, Dad. Oh, yeah, they'll give me money. But if I don't give them money first, they ain't going to give me nothing back. Right? But that's what they saw. And that's what she perceived as a child. You got to explain it to them so they understand it. I was telling the parents, pray with your children. Pray with your children. We, as married couples, when was the last time we prayed together? When was the last time we let our children see us praying together? Because at the end of the day, the time that we have to be able to witness the grace that the Lord has blessed us with is one day shorter every day. You know, when we got married, we were sleeping on the floor because the house wasn't finished on time. Now we have a king-size bed. So when I wake up in the morning, I send my wife a text, good morning. I says, you know, when we slept on the floor, we were closer, we were snug. Now you're way the heck over there. You're on 44th Street. We live on 45th. Why are you so far away? Right? But it's real. Sometimes we laugh about these now, but there are moments that wakes us up because we wake up and one will walk out the bed that way and the other one will walk this way, and then we'll meet somewhere in the kitchen. You know, I was reminding the parents today, not everyone who went to sleep last night woke up this morning. And here we are. You, me, St. Myra, and everybody else. Right? Here we are. Did we give thanks? Unfortunately, in the world today, the first thing we do is grab that remote, put channel 7. Instead of, thank you, Lord, for another day. Help me with the challenges that I'm going to face. Help my children, wherever they may be. Guide them, protect them. And then send your husband a text. Tony, good morning. Right? If they see us praying, they will learn to pray. And you know, there'll be a time where there will be a drift, and it will take some time for them to get it. But if we remain faithful, they will get it. It may take them some time. It took me some time. I can't expect more from them than I was able to give. I remember one day coming home. I was in my 20s, and I'm walking in the house. I worked late. City of Coral Gables police station had an emergency service call. I finished that. I got home, and as I'm walking in, it's probably 6:45. Mass was at 7. My parents are coming out. And I asked the question any son who's still living at home at 20-something would ask. ¿A dónde van ustedes? Where are you going? We're going to Mass. A misa. Didn't you guys go to Mass yesterday? Today is Monday. Yesterday was Sunday. I said, where are you going today? I said, porque queremos. I looked at them as they continued to walk out one way, and I was walking in the other direction. And I said to myself, están locos. They are nuts. They're crazy. Fanatics. You know, I turn around today, and there are many times, many days like today, where there'll be masses, baptisms, burials, talks, and then I'll get home. And then my daughters say, Papi, you crazy, man. And I'm going, good, good. You saw it. You saw it. And that's all I want, is just to leave in their heart the reality that if you want to follow Christ, you got to be different. You got to leave something behind, because he's going to demand. He's going to demand to know that you love me enough to leave everything behind for me. And then comes the real joy. When you come back and then you see the next generation willing to make the same sacrifice. You know, when we got married, we were sent to this retreat, sort of like Camino. I still don't know what it was that I was sent to. And I remember, and I understand the incredible gift that Camino is as providing tools for the journey, right? I wish that some of the tools that I try to bring to those who are preparing for matrimony bring. I have no idea what I went through when we went through. And I always said, Lord, if I ever have the opportunity, I would love to be able to make it real to somebody. You know, the sacrament of matrimony is a sacred moment. It's a sacred moment where, you know, I always tell the people, you can take all the pictures you want in the church, just don't go up to the sanctuary, please, until you want to get married. And then I want you to get real close to the altar, because that's the place of the sacrifice. And if you're willing to die to self, get as close to the altar as possible, because that's what marriage is. You know, we often go to weddings and we realize that this wedding is a time of joy. I always tell people, if it's only a time of joy, you're missing the point. Because at that altar, two people are dying. If they're doing it right, right? If they're doing it right, two people are dying. They're dying to self. I will die to me so that I can live for you. And when it works right is when you die to you to live for me. If it's not like that, good luck. You got a lot of work in the journey, right? Because when I say, I promise to be faithful in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, to death do us part, for richer or poorer, right? Let's throw that one in there as well. That's not a buffet table. That's not for you to pick and choose which one you want. That's to make you aware that you will have these peaks and valleys in your journey. And you better be ready, because I had no idea that one daughter was going to be born with cancer. I had no idea that we were going to be sleeping on the floor. I had no idea that I was going to put a wall unit on the window and close it with a piece of cardboard when I'm an air conditioning mechanic. I had no idea. Neither did she. In the first year, it was all Domino's. I think I made Domino's a lot of money. All right? And Myra used to say, go out at night and take out the garbage so the people don't see, the neighbors don't see that all we eat is pizza. All right? Because the house wasn't finished yet. But that's those moments that challenge a marriage, but at the same time solidifies the marriage. Because if you can go back and take those moments that were challenging to you and to everyone who's here, you can always look back. Nobody ever gets a gravy train. Everybody's got to pay the peaks and the valleys. But those valleys help us grow. And they solidify this relationship. I told you about the family that I went to pray the rosary with today. This family, the pandemic was just beginning. And in fact, they brought their mother over to Mass. That was the first time I met the mother. The week before they closed the church, the buildings themselves, and started transmitting the Masses on the internet. And she came the Sunday before. And I remember that I preached on, we cannot We cannot live in a world where fear is going to control what we do. You cannot deny someone a hug if the Lord brings you to that person to hug them. You got to be aware that we're different, and we're wired different, and we should be programmed different. Jesus didn't run from the lepers, he ran to them. Jesus didn't say, I can't touch you. He went and touched them and healed them. Why are we running away? That was part of my homily. At the end of the homily, I'm coming out preparing for the next Mass, and the daughter comes and says, Deacon, my mom wants to hug you. And she says, well, I can't miss that hug. I'm going out there. I went out, and she says, I believe that what you said is what I believe. Can I hug you? I said, absolutely. And she gave me a hug. It was the last time that I saw her alive. It's the last memory that I have of that poor woman. Next thing I knew, she had, I think it was 2 weeks later, she came down with COVID. The whole family got it. She got it, goes to the hospital, and just before she gets intubated, they have a phone call with the family, and she says, I'm not going to make it. You guys take care of yourselves. Prepare everything so when it happens. And the father says, you cannot leave me. You have to fight. We still have to go to Monica's 15th in a few months. You got to fight. That's love. That's love when you realize that your purpose is to continue to fight for the sake of someone else. She passed 2 weeks later. A week after that phone call, Dad comes down with COVID, ends up in the hospital. Next room, next door. They didn't even know. They were in rooms one next to the other. She dies. He never knew that she had died. That was the first couple that I buried from COVID. They were both buried together. Today, the family gathered to celebrate their lives with a rosary offered for the intentions of their parents and for those that don't have anyone to pray for them. That's love. The children who are there are witnessing what a marriage should be, what a family should be. That's our challenge. If we don't make it a point to have our children recognize how blessed they are, to have parents that are able to be here, parents who work to help others find the answers and work things out. That's our mission. This is what the Lord has called us to do. This is what we do. It's not our calling, it's His calling for us to do. I often tell the story of when in Camino, and I'm going to share this with you because I think it's important. I was asked to go to Palmetto Hospital by my brother, whose secretary's mother had fallen and was going into surgery the following day, and she wanted to receive communion before she went into surgery. I asked, is she ready to receive communion? Because if she needs to go to confession, I cannot give her communion. Can you ask her? Otherwise, she should get a priest. Well, Tony, yes, she says she is, but she's been calling the local parish and nobody goes. So from Corpus Christi to Palmetto Hospital, here goes Tony. When I get there, I give her communion and I realize that next door, on the bed next to her, is my neighbor across the street. And we look at each other and say, what are you doing here? And she says, she points to her sister who's in the bed. Her sister, unknown to me, was getting ready to be released to hospice. She had a terminal cancer throughout her body, and she asked me that I pray for her sister. And so I stood at the foot of the bed and I offered my prayers. The father, or the husband, comes and stands next to me. The son stays next to the other side of the bed. Sister on one side, the son here, and now the husband, father next to me. And he asked me one question. Why does God do this, Tony? Why does God give my wife cancer? Why does he make it terminal? Why? What do you say? You just keep praying. And I hope that in time you find peace. And then he says, Tony, we've been married for 23 years. Why doesn't God give me the tumor? Why doesn't God take me? Why does he take her? He needs her more than he needs me. Promise to love you in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer. Remember what I told you? That at the altar, 2 people die to self. This man is proving what love is. He's not fearful of death. In fact, he's calling it to be upon himself so his wife could be freed from her death sentence. We spoke for a little bit, and as I turned around, I said, hey, tomorrow I'll stop by the house. She lives across the street from me. I'll stop by. I walked out. This man follows me out. And he says, Tony. She says, you know, we were never married. We were never married in the church. Could we get married before she dies? And I says, man, I'm supposed to be at Corpus Christi. What am I doing at Palmetto Hospital? What am I doing with this? He's like, dude, you're just destroying me and you keep pounding on me, man. And I says, man, what love, what commitment. This man's a special man. I went to Father Jose Luis and I presented the case. Father Jose Luis says, hey, Tony, in times of imminent death, the church waives all the other nonsense that we have to go through. If they want to get married, you can do it. So, you know, we hear Pope Francis marry somebody in an airplane. Well, a couple of years before he did that, and Deacon Tony married somebody across the street in Hialeah. Right? But here's the kicker. When I go back the following day to let them know that we'll do the paperwork and we'll get this thing straight to get it moving, I bring them a priest. And there's a priest, I don't know if any of you know him, Padre Parra, was over at an old folks home in Miami Springs. So poor guy is missing a leg, missing some fingers. I go pick him up. So they got to go to confession before they can receive the sacrament of matrimony. So I bring him, and when he gets there, we realize that she can receive the anointing of the sick, but she has already taken medication, morphine, and she's not aware. And you have to be aware to be able to say, I do. In order for a valid marriage to take place, you have to willingly and freely be able to say, I do. So once again, now I take him outside and that says, she has to be able to say, I do. She can receive the sacrament of anointing of the sick, but if she's not able to say, I do, we can't. He says, let me talk to her. Can we come back in 2 days? I says, you let me know. I'm here. I'm across the street. You guys call me. This woman went 2 days without morphine, put up with the pains of the cancer to be able to say, I do. Powerful words. Powerful words. Imagine the pain that she went to be able to say, I do. And of course, the husband, he was in heaven already, baby. Because he was able to do for her what he had denied her when they first got married. He didn't want to get married in the church. She did. 23 years later, God gave him another chance. And you know, we went over to the funeral. A few days later, she passed. And the one thing this man kept coming up to me and repeating says, Tony, ella se casó y papá Dios sabe que ella se casó por la iglesia, ¿no es verdad? Oh yes, oh yeah. He would sit down, a few minutes later he would come up, papá Dios sabe que ella se casó por la iglesia, ¿verdad, Tony? Yes. Tranquilo, hermano, tranquilo. All he wanted was to do what little he could to get her to heaven. That is also our mission, to get our spouse to heaven. I am a better person because of St. Myra. No doubt, no doubt. And I hope that I've done a little bit to help her as well to grow in the faith and one day get to heaven. Because sooner or later, that other part that we never want to hear, that one part that we heard but we never focus on, death will separate us. But it will also be death that will bring us together again. Thursday. No, I'll make that Wednesday. Wednesday, 10:30. Started at 10:30. I get a text. Deacon, pray for my dad. Pray for my dad. Deacon, pray harder, Deacon, for my dad. Deacon, my dad just passed. That was coming from a young man whose parents were to celebrate their 50th anniversary on June 5th, that had asked me to preach at their wedding and for me to renew their vows. They were going to have a wedding mass. Everything was planned. And from one minute to the other, everything changed. That's how fragile relationships are. That's how fragile marriages are. The one thing we can't do is take time for granted. Because, you know, sooner or later, that spouse that drives us up the wall, the one that doesn't pick up after himself, the one that just can't get it right, we're going to miss them. And our world is going to be empty for some time as we struggle with the grieving for this person that we love so much. Don't leave for tomorrow what needs to be done today. Don't leave what needs to be said today and forgiven today. Don't leave it for tomorrow. Tomorrow may or may not come. Today is here. Learn from the past. Make it happen. Hold hands. Please hold hands. So one thing we don't see anymore. Our young youth don't see that anymore. We always see one person walking ahead and the other person, espérame, muchacho, espérame. We need to walk side by side. We need to show the countless broken homes that it can work. That you know it's a struggle, but there are moments of joy that are well worth it. They don't know that. Why do I need to get married? We can live together. Yeah, you can do that. But can you commit? Can you die to self? Does she know for sure that your desire is to love her, not use her? Does she? Then the conversation stops, right? Because we're not committed. And so here we are, many years ahead, hopefully, God willing, ahead for all of us. What are we going to do with those years? What are we going to do with those days that the Lord has entrusted to us? What we do in the marriage, how it helps our children see and witness what we believe. The other day, somebody sent me a text of my parents walking hand in hand, going to Mass. They go to 9 a.m. Mass at Corpus Christi. They don't speak any English, but they want to hear their son preach. The Holy Spirit, I hope, is doing a lot of work in them, right? But they want to connect. They want to be there. They haven't disconnected from their child. That's me. 62 years married. I saw them, and I can remember the good times and the bad, sickness and health, the moments that we were poor, the moments that we were real poor, and the moments that we just started climbing up the ladder. They never got there, right? They never got there. But we never consider ourselves poor, because we could always count on love being at the house, at home. We always knew that we could pray the rosary together. And we always heard the prayers and the intentions of Mommy and Papi for us. And so we followed that example and we prayed for each other. We learned. We learned what a lot of people go through a lifetime and don't ever are able to witness. Came to America, home of the free, right? June 26, 1970, landed in Miami International Airport. We were 5, too big a family. We were going to be sent to New Orleans, and New Orleans said, no, that's a family of 5, too many. Send them to Boston. For us, it was America. What's Boston? All right, we go to Boston. And we flew, and never did we realize that we were homeless. We had no home. We arrived there, and Catholic Charities put us up. I often tell people, you know why I give to ABCD? Because ABCD gave me long before I was able to give back. It works. And there are people who come back and give back because I received many years ago. Here we are. I've been the recipient of many blessings, many more that I haven't yet even give God credit for, but I know that I am. I know that I am. In my marriage, I hope that I can, every day, make my wife a happier person. That's my goal. That I can be her friend, her best friend, because she is my best friend. And you know, when we walked into this diaconate thing, right, she made it clear to me. And so you guys are seeing my wife here. Most of the people don't. I often speak of my wife, and people saying, yeah, you're really married. Yeah. I am. And you know, she made it clear. It says, God called you maybe to be a deacon. That was when I was in the seminary. Now there's no doubt. He called you for the diaconate. He called me to be a mom. As long as we can keep those two roles straight, we're good. And we've been good. I don't force it. If she wants to come, she comes. If she doesn't want to come, I didn't even tell her about the wine, and she still came. No. I'm only kidding, my dad. All right, but the point I'm trying to make is we have to work in falling in love every day. I always tell the story, and with this one I'm going to wrap up. The movie 50 First Dates. If you remember, right? It's a comedy, right? But there's an incredible message in it. See, the main character falls in love with a person that, because of an accident, cannot retain any memory after 24 hours. So the following day, she's a clean slate. She doesn't remember what happened yesterday. And so he has to find a way to have her fall in love with him again. And he knows that the following day, he's going to have to do the same thing. How different marriages would be if we were to practice that same thing in our marriages. Working and finding a way to have our spouse fall in love with us every day. One day after another day after another day. And where we screw up sometimes is that we work so hard at so many things out here that what's right in front of us we neglect. And that goes both ways, men and women. It often falls always on the man. It goes both ways, right? We got to fall in love. That's the same reality that when you look at Bill Gates. How do you go for, oh man, now you're at the end of your life, oh, you have all this money, you've done all this, you have all this charity that you're involved in. How could the marriage fail? If you don't fall in love every day, you're going to fail. Because sooner or later, you're going to run on empty. And that's why it's important to keep prayer in the marriage. 2 go up, 3 come down. You keep that. Keep that in the back of your head. 2 go up, 3 come down. You keep God alive. If you keep God as the center of your marriage, it'll be easier to accept those difficult moments when it's hard to be understanding about him who won't do this, or about her who spends that, or him who spends too much on his toys, and it just keeps. What are you going to make a big deal about? What are you going to make a big deal about? Because at the end of the day, if you start feeding this negativity is going to grow. But if you start feeding positivity, if you start looking at your spouse in a way that what can I take positive from her or from him to help this marriage continue to grow, then you'll continue to fall in love every day. Listen, heaven, it's the Iowa field of dreams, right? Is this heaven? No, this ain't heaven. But if a marriage works out, and a marriage is faithful, in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, it could come pretty close to Iowa. It could come pretty close. It could come pretty close. And I hope and I pray that you find it close. That you could walk into your house and ask yourself, is this heaven? Is this heaven? Because then your heart is there. And you will have witness to everyone that this is joy. I often used to wonder and ask my dad, pero papi, ¿por qué tú no te pones bravo con mami? Ponte los pantalones y dile que no. He said, I love her. End of the story. Cállate la boca, Tony. Go walk into your corner again and leave it alone. Because I love her. The same thing that Pancho was asked when he says, why do you follow Don Quixote? He's a crazy man. Because I love him. Because I love him. Because I love him should be the response of why we accept the limitations that we have in each other and make the best of the things that we do have. The assets that we each bring into the marriage, into the family. Which one you're going to focus in? And that's the trick. Why are marriages failing today in the golden years? Because they have not fallen in love in the years before. New trend is, let's take some time away from each other. Dude, you know, the curves that were there before are now curves going out. You know, the black hair that was there before, it's a nice shiny cube. The 6-pack is in the refrigerator. It's no longer in here, right? Why is it that we wait till it's all over? When we could be enjoying each other's company, when we could be lying in the sofa, watching a movie, holding hands. Why is it that then we want to throw in the towel? Doesn't make sense. Palmetto Hospital, this is the last one. Palmetto Hospital. I get there after Mass one day. I'm asked to come and pray for this family. The couple had been married 64 years. He was not doing well. They didn't think he was going to make it through the day. They asked me to come second Mass. I run over to Palmetto, and I'm there, and I'm praying with the family. And the gentleman dies while I'm there. While we wait, and of course, I can't leave now. So I wait till they come to make the arrangements to pick up the body. The wife gets up. She walks to the side of the bed, grabs his hand, puts it in between both her hands, and then she says, Tony, cuánto yo no diera por sentir el calor de su mano otra vez. How I wish I could feel the warmth in his hand. And I wonder, have you felt the warmth of your wife or your husband's hand lately? Sometimes the most simple things are the one things that we will miss when we don't have each other. So hold hands, please. Hold hands and let the world know that you guys are in love, because the world doesn't know what love is anymore. You know, we have that song, eh? What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Love's got nothing to do with pain, man. But that's what they hear. And there's another beautiful song. I think the Beatles sing it. Help me, David. Will you still love me? Will you still need me when I'm 64, right? And you want to wonder, when I get old, I'm losing my hair. Many years from now, do-do-do-do-do. Will you still something, 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 send me Christmas, Valentine's, birthday wishes, bottle of wine, right? I didn't know about the wine. It just felt perfect, right? But that's the trick, guys. Have fun. Enjoy. Remember what it was like when we fell in love. It doesn't change. We get older, but the sense of humor side has still got to be there. Have fun with one another. This is the greatest gift God has given us, each other. And if we love each other, and if we give of each other one to the other completely, everyone else outside of us will be better, including our children. Advice given to me by Father Vituro at my wedding in 1987. And I was standing at the altar and I'm going, really? So I'm supposed to love Myra more than I love my kids? It doesn't make sense. But he was absolutely right. When I love Myra, my kids will be better because they'll be loved by Myra even more. So thank you for your time. I hope I haven't bored you, right? God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.